Hello, everyone. It's glad to be here. I'm super excited to be in another edition of Apex. This year in Singapore, it's my first time, but had to say that I'm in love with this city. So far, one of the best I've visited in Asia, and I hope you guys are also enjoying it too. This year, it feels very special to me. I discovered recently this morning that this is the 5th edition of Apex. I've been in 4 of them, counting this one, most of them presenting the same topic, the XRPL EVM Sidechain. But this edition feels much more special to me for a bunch of reasons. One of those is because today I'm not going to be talking on what we are building. Today, for the first time, I'm going to be talking about what other people is building on the EVM sidechain, and that's a huge difference. And also, today I'm going to be talking about the momentum that we are seeing with XRPL, because I have the feeling, and I hope most of you here have this feeling as well, that this is a special moment for XRP in general, and partly also for XRP Ledger. I think thanks to the regulatory clarity, the amazing job Ripple is doing in the US and in the rest of the world, among all the changes that are happening, it's in a special momentum. Everyone is having its focus on XRP. We see all these partnerships, institutions adopting it in every single moment. But also, there's another topic that's very hot right now, XRP5. Everyone is talking about it. It feels like it's going to happen today, tomorrow. You know, I don't know exactly when it's going to happen, but I feel that if everyone is talking about it, it's because there's an evidence that there's a market demand for it, there's a need for it, and there will be many people fighting and building solutions to tap into this market demand. So I will start with this moment, because I think it's a great opportunity, maybe one of the biggest opportunities in the crypto industry itself, thanks to the XRP Ledger size, to build something meaningful. As we know, XRP Ledger has been a fantastic protocol that has been a leader in blockchain-based payments, but also in institutional adoptions, among many other things. But some of us that are on the crypto industry, we've seen how something called DeFi has landed in many protocols and has exploded, even in some of them. But unfortunately, the XRP holders, we didn't have the feeling that this DeFi explosion has happened in the same proportion to our ledger. At the same time, we've seen all this interest growing for XRP, people looking to get yield opportunities, to get some institutional adoption as well as part of that. But still, this is not a reality, or it's not a super exploded reality, which creates this unique opportunity. If a good metric to see how big it's this DeFi, it's to compare the TVL, total value locked, versus market cap. For your reference, I've been looking this morning, and Ethereum has right now about 20% of TVL versus market cap. There's about 60+ billion TVL on a 300 billion market cap. Solana, I think it's around 10%. But if we do the comparison of the XRP Ledger, while it's true that there's been a growing total value lock thanks to solutions like the AMM and other protocols, the market cap has grown so fast that it's not proportional to it, which all things suggest to me that there is an untapped potential. I see all this market demand, I see all these institutions, I see all this regulatory clarity and momentum, but I still see this data that it's about to explode. So I think this is the biggest momentum for building on the XRPL. And why I think these things has been not exploding? Well, there's probably a bunch of reasons. Life is not that simple. But I think there is some technical things that can be put into a new paradigm that can help at least grow part of this potential. Some things that we are copying from the industry. We are not trying to reinvent the wheel. But for DeFi to explode, some things happened in the Ethereum ecosystem, and I think it's interesting to keep an eye on it. First of all, it's programmability. I think that's not a new topic and not in the XRP Ledger now. So there was no DeFi, essentially, before Ethereum. Ethereum had programmability, and for those who had been long enough in the industry to remember, there was a period of time that almost all the on-chain activity was on Ethereum. until it reached a point that Ethereum was not scaling, and for sending $1, you had to pay $40 fees. So the next big solver of that, or at least as I remember, was Polygon or the layer 2s scaling. So essentially, if you don't want to compromise security or decentralization and you still want to scale, the only way to do it is through layer 2s. So Polygon and later Arbitrum, Optimism, and many others has broken this new direction and created layer 2 scalability. And third, and all of them, this scalability, it's useless if it's isolated, and interoperability is key. And then Cosmos, Axelar, and many others has supported interoperability protocols that allows to connect all these layer 2 chains where the activity is happening. Now, think of it. Where is most of the DeFi activity happening? Well, most of the DeFi activity, it's right now sitting in layer 2, programmable, most of them EVM, interoperable chain. Because if you have a programmable chain, you can deploy Uniswap, Zabe, you can deploy whatever you want. It has to be scalable. So if you have to pay $40 fees to get 1% yield, it's not a very suitable solution for many people. But also, if you only have XRP, it doesn't matter if you have the best DEX. It doesn't matter if you have whatever protocol. If you just can trade XRP for other tokens that are not fitting the market demand, people it's not going to trade them. So essentially, the best strategy is bringing the blue chip assets from other ecosystem. People want Bitcoin, people want Ethereum, people want, we have a coin market cap ordered list of the ranking of what people really want, right? So I think we need to try to get at least the top 10, top 50 of these tokens and bring it to our ecosystem in order to facilitate trade. It's not all about technology. So the XRPL EVM sidechain intends, or I think it's going to position a new technology on the XRP Ledger ecosystem to capitalize on that for different reasons. The first one is the native currency is XRP. So we are not creating a new token. We are not making our own history here. We are trying to scale XRP. We are trying to do that with Ripple, with XRP Ledger. So we are trying to do this in-house. One important thing is some people still confuses or thinks that the XRPL EVM is going to compete with XRPL Mainnet, which is, I think it's not the case, but for some people it's not that obvious. So one of the most important things, if you think of DeFi, it's who's the most benefited of DeFi activity? It's Polygon, it's Arbitrum, it's Ethereum, right? All of these protocols are sitting on top of Ethereum. So the layer 1, it's actually capitalizing or accumulating the TVL of all of them. All of them sits on top of Ethereum. So this is the biggest winner by far of any activity that the layers 2 has created. Now, the EVM sidechain is positioned to do the same. The native currency is going to be XRP. So essentially, we are pouring that. But every XRP which is demanded on the EVM sidechain, it doesn't matter if it's for deploying in a smart contract. It doesn't matter if it's needed to interact with the protocol or to just hold it there for whatever reason in a new wallet. Every XRP that it's being used on the EVM sidechain, it's an XRP locked on the mainnet. So essentially, if you see the XRPL EVM as a DApp, the XRPL EVM has the potential to be the biggest DApp of XRP, the DApp that is creating more TVL. And this is what we are trying to achieve here, right? This XRPL EVM, if we want to attract or create this demand, it has to have some certain capabilities. Again, here we are not reinventing the wheel. Programmability, we think it's a key factor. We've put the programmability that it's best in the industry. Scalability, per se, it's done as a sidechain it is. And interoperability, it's done through Axelar. And also, it's the EVM sidechain is based on Cosmos, so it also has natively IBC, which is another of the top interoperability protocols. So I think the XRPL EVM, it's unlocking some of these technologies that can help explode DeFi on the XRPL ecosystem. And even if some of this DeFi it's happening on the EVM sidechain, all of this value locked on the EVM sidechain is essentially total value locked on the mainnet. Now, how big is that? Anyone knows? Well, we can try to project that, right? And this is not a promise. But if we are seeing on what happened to other protocols, we can try to make a projection. Well, many of the EVM-compatible sidechains and rollups has already demonstrated the ability to benefit the layer 1, to benefit XRP and XRP Ledger per se. And if these numbers are depending on the momentum, but Polygon has reached about 2 to 6 billion in TVL that have been impacting in some moments up to 10% of increasing up to 10% of the Ethereum TVL. Arbitrum has reached up to 12%. Optimism has reached up to 7%. All of this has increased TVL on Ethereum. That's the main winner of all this activity, right? Even a mere fair comparison, Neon EVM, it's essentially exactly the same that we are doing, but for Solana. Still, Solana has programmability already on the layer 1, but they launched an EVM chain because it's interesting to tap into EVM-compatible technology. In the first year, I think it reached something like 0.5% of TVL. Now, how this is projecting to the XRP Ledger? Well, if history repeats and protocols launches and many more difficult things that needs to happen, it's not just about pouring the infrastructure, for sure. But if we were doing the same strategies that these other protocols has been doing, then we can project that if we reach something between 0.5 and 10% of XRP market cap, that will be something between 600 million and 12 billion additional TVL held on the sidechain. Now, that will become, for sure, the biggest application of Mainnet, because Mainnet right now, I think it's more than that, but I think it's in the order of magnitude of $80 to $100 million in TVL. So we are talking that the EVM sidechain, aggregating all these use cases on top of it, has at least the history-proven potential to increase that by 5 to 20x at least, right? And I think we should fight for that. I think we should try to get there. I know that all these conversations, I've been talking to almost everyone at Ripple, almost a lot of people in the community. Everyone is talking in XRP-Fi, XRP-Yield. And I do believe that when everyone is believing and trying to solve a problem, this problem is going to be solved. I also believe that the reason everyone is talking to it right now is because there is the demand, there is the momentum, and everyone is feeling that there is new technologies available that powers possibilities to potentially solve this problem. And I hope they do. So this is about powering builders, right? The EVM sidechain is not going to generate any TVL per se. It's just another expense, right? So the EVM sidechain is empowering people in order to build these things. How empower these builders? Well, we need to put, first of all, the infrastructure that they need in order to succeed. Okay, so we have the programmability, we have the interoperability, but this is not enough. We need more things. Some of the things we are pouring here, it's a node, which is the Cosmos EVM. This is essentially the main layer that provides the programmability, the interoperability, and as a separate node, as a sidechain, it's the scalability. And what I want to highlight here is that all these things are essentially production ready. This is not any startup, right? This is a software worth many millions of dollars. There is hundreds of chains working and running this software in production. So these are things that are ready to be in production since day one. In the same way, once we have nodes, we need strong infrastructure providers. We need an RPC that can offer its service, can even sell its service to large transaction producers. One of the partnerships that we've announced is Growth, that it's going to support this infrastructure, and it's solid enough to help empower these builders. Same with indexing. RPC calls are not going to take you anywhere if you are not indexing all this content. Also, Gold Sky has been announced as one of the main indexers. This will empower as well these possibilities. All these protocols need this kind of infrastructure. We need explorers, for sure. We have Block Scout, which is world-class explorer right now. We have a custom version of it, and it's also available for any builders. You can verify smart contracts. You can even execute the apps inside the Explorer. You can explore the apps inside the Explorer. These guys are doing an amazing job, and all of this is available. And finally, price feeds. We have Band Protocol. I heard yesterday that some other companies are going to provide price feeds. So all this is needed to empower all these DeFi builders. And last but not least, we have top-tier wallets, all these wallets that will provide access to the XRPL EVM. Again, some of these names are not newbies. They didn't start yesterday. They have potentially thousands of people. They have millions of users, and all these builders are going to be able to tap into their user bases by connecting these wallets to unleash the power of the XRP. So once we have the infrastructure, we need the apps. As I said, infrastructure, more infrastructure, more infrastructure. Who's solving the problems? The apps is solving the problems. And recently, we've been able to create this ecosystem map. I think there is many more the apps out there, because we are seeing millions of transactions and smart contracts on testnet, but it's extremely difficult to see what are bots, what are real, who is showing up, who not. For example, one of the top apps that we've seen on the testnet that reached more than 40,000 people, we didn't even know them, right? I mean, there's plenty of people there in the room that is using it. And if you see this picture, how many of you here recognize some of these logos or big part of these logos? More than 50%? Probably no one, right? Oh, someone there? OK. I didn't even recognize more than 50%. So this is interesting, because this is new players. That's fantastic. There's a lot of players that we don't recognize. It's because it's new people. It's not moving the XRP holders from one chain to another and selling things between ourselves, which is not taking anywhere. It's increasing the public. It's increasing the builders. It's increasing the providers. I will talk later about that, but I think that's very interesting. Also, we are bringing new big players. I know it's super easy to, when you have an EVM chain, to import it to MetaMask. It doesn't feel like it's a huge effort to put an RPC, but it still counts. MetaMask has 30 million users. Now, I mean, for the first time, as far as I'm concerned, the XRP logo, it's a MetaMask. It's unbelievable. 2025, XRP logo was not in MetaMask, in the largest users wallet, right? Now it's there. Kepler, 2 million monthly active users, is supporting XRPL EVM, Leap, Cosmos Station, Bifrost, Trust Wallet, and many other EVM wallets that probably they even know that they support XRP, but since they are EVM wallets, they are, and people can use it to access it. And that's a bunch of millions of people that it's now accessible for the apps. You are no longer having to sell things to the XRPL community itself. You can still do that. But now you are selling to everyone, to the blockchain industry. And in order to have these billions of TVL, in order to explode, as XRP has the potential to explode, we need to try to get all across the internet, not just between ourselves. This is not going to create the boom that XRP deserves, right? So this is more infrastructure, that's wallets. This is the user base. And who can tap in this user base? Well, we have a fair number of the apps for the small time that we have been on testnet. We have some DeFi protocols already there. Take a look. Remember these names, because maybe some of those are the ones that are going to capitalize on these strategies. We have Moai Finance since day one, building. We have Alice Network. We have Injective. Some of these are Cosmos protocols. We have XRise. This is one of these exchanges that reached like 40,000 people on testnet. We have Strobe, Secure, and Vertex announced today by Ripple. We have Nexus, we have Marsgate, we have HamiSwap, and much more, right? But there's a lot of people already building, ready on testnet. You can use them today, and I'm sure they will be ready for mainnet, if not in day one, in a few weeks after that. We have some real WA as well, use cases. We have some launch pads, meme coins. We've heard Brad, Monica talking about meme coins before. Well, hope some of these people is able to make some noise around that as well. We have data, range, Gold Sky, BAM protocol. I mentioned some of them before. We have DAOs that has showed or at least submitted their support for the EVM Sidechain. I think after we go live on mainnet, many more will be able to plug and play in one click. And we have many others like Divers, Capsign, Names, Wallkit, Gas.zip, NFTs, many, many more others. So now, we've talked about all those things. Maybe a lot of you are not super impressed. Maybe some of you, yes. But let's think about it for a second, because I think it's worth it. What all these things mean, right? Well, this impact is mostly organic. There's been no effectively useful incentives for testnet. There's not been any paid marketing. There's not been a master plan behind any of it. It's just launching, announcing testnet. People, 60 days, like 2 months, people came, people built on top of that. And even if this doesn't sound like a super ecosystem map, for the time being, that's big enough. And that's big enough to the size that you've seen 87 different logos. at the time that I did these slides. I think today it's 93. So I think this is growing, right? As I mentioned it, most of them, and I think that's the most important thing, most of these logos are unfamiliar to XRP community, and that's good. This means it's new people being part of the community, being part of the ecosystem, being XRP holders, new ideas, new environments that are now helping our community grow. And the few logos that you guys seem familiar is because they are so successful that we know it from another community, right? So this means our top-tier protocols. So essentially, at least, we can say whatever happens at the XRP EVM, it's now successfully the best tool to attract new and top-tier talent. And I think this is something that will have an impact that will be very meaningful in the long scale. More thoughts. When Mainnet goes live, these entities will be active, right? None of these things is impacting XRP. It doesn't matter if it's just a listing on MetaMask. It doesn't matter if it's someone just running a validator. I'm a strong believer that the net worth, the value of an ecosystem, it's the addition of all the small satellites that it has. A guy sitting in his room and monitoring hardware, OK, this is additional infrastructure for XRP. This counts. This contributes to its value, right? Here we have 87 entities. How many people will be in average in these entities? 5, 10 people? This is maybe 1,000 new people just with 2 weeks of Mainnet that are spending part of their time and their life building software or in some way or another contributing to XRP. Now, when this goes on Mainnet and it takes a couple of time, I think these additions will be so valuable that it for sure will impact and help shape the future of XRP. There is no doubt about it. It's just astonishing. So onboarding on the XRPL EVM, it's not one partnership. It's not a simple announcement. It's not any other thing we've seen before. This is massive. The potential, at least, is massive. The players that are coming, OK, some of them may be startups. Some of them are new players. But some of them are protocols like MetaMask that, I think it's just adding a logo, but this is adding much more value than many protocols can build. So the value is not directly correlated with effort. I think everyone here can agree with that. The value is what you provide. And being listed and recognized on MetaMask and be able to swap Ether for XRP on MetaMask and start using whatever DeFi protocol, it's much more valuable than spending maybe months or whatever building a protocol that doesn't reach its final users, right? So I think all these things has the potential to growth massively, and this is going to be a wave, not a drip. This is why we are building this ecosystem map, right? Because it's very difficult to map all these activities. So this is the beginning. This has been 2 months of testnet. We'll now talk about mainnet launch. But if this has been happening in some time, what a year of mainnet look like? Hope we discover next year. Hope in the next version of Apex. And I hope all you guys came here. So when mainnet? What everyone is asking me. Well, today we had David and Jazzy. They've talked a little bit about it. They mentioned it that it's coming in Q2. I think you guys can count the weeks left of Q2 in one hand. So while today we are not providing an exact date, I can say that the mainnet technology is ready. We are working to partners to integrate, so there is things to use on day one. We are not launching an empty chain on day one. I think it's important to capitalize all this attention to some of these early adopters. If you guys are building or planning to build a protocol on mainnet, please let me know. We can provide this early access to you. And in terms of dates, as I said, I'm not allowed to say any specific date, but the intention is to launch in Q2. So the weeks that are left in Q2 can be counted with days. So if you guys plan to compete or be part of this new revolution, I think you have some homework to do in a short period of time. So how to get ready? If you want to participate, if you want to pay attention, whether it's you're a builder, an investor, a user, wherever, there is different ways. First one, it's exploring the website, xrplevm.org. We are having a brand new website today. We have pretty easy guides for developers. We have a pretty easy onboarding for users. You can access to many different directors. We lead you to all the links that you need. And also, even if you want to participate in the governance, in protocol changes, in just saying your opinion, in running a validator, you can do all these things through the website, so please have a look. Second of all, it's Discord. I don't know what happened, but Discord used to be a few thousand of people, but since the last 2 weeks of testnet, it's 40,000 people. When I did the slides, I think today it's 45,000. So Discord is getting crazy. There's a lot of people there talking every day. There is all the languages available, so join Discord. We are spending a lot of time there, and that's the best way to get onboarded. And last but not least, following Persis on Twitter and RippleXDev. We are sharing all the announcements as they come, so I think that will be the best place to get the last-minute news. So I hope all you guys enjoy, share some of these thoughts, and I hope we can see all of you on XRPL EVM Mainnet very soon. Thank you very much, and enjoy Apex.